This is Coda Radio, episode 169 for September 4th, 2015. And welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, Digitalocean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us like a soldier, even though he doesn't have any furniture in his brand new house, why yes folks, is Mr. Michael Dominic. Hey there, Michael.
Hello, Mr. Fisher. How are you?
Good. You know, a weekly show, Mr. Dominic, sometimes you have to persevere when somebody's just moved to Florida. They have no furniture because the delivery people didn't show up, and all they have is a phone. But the show must go on.
The show must go on.
So, we have, trust me, we are EQing Mr. Dominic as best we can. But yeah, it is, this week, Mr. Dominic is a soldier. He really doesn't even have to be here for this. I mean, this is like, he could have taken the week off, but he wanted to come in, do a show on Friday because he's been moving all week long. Are you exhausted, Mike? How are you feeling?
Actually, I did the drive in one day.
You drove in one day?
Yes.
And the idea being that the delivery people were going to drive in one day too, I take it.
Well, they had guaranteed delivery by today.
Yeah, okay.
And, yeah, that didn't happen.
Are you furious? I mean, like, I would be furious right now. I would be, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, there's a lot of anger.
Yeah, there's some disappointment.
Yeah, there's it's funny because the furniture hasn't even left New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
it's
gosh.
pretty clear, though. Yeah, it's pretty clear what they did was, they're waiting for enough orders to come in to make it worth the trip, basically. So.
Oh, you're probably right.
I know that's exactly what it is, because there's no other reason to. I'm sure they had another order and it fell through, so they decided to hold off.
And so screw you.
Yeah, basically.
So I've been kind of getting not totally jerked around, but so I'm getting a trailer. I got a trailer. It's going to be a mobile studio, and I'll be going on a road trip in September, or I guess it is September now, later this month. And but the people I'm buying it from, the guy's having a heart attack, and so he decided to run it through a dealership since his health was bad, and he handed it over to them. So there has been a whole series, and then that dealership had a series of turnover internally of staff at the wrong time. And so there has been all of this ball dropping along the way, not by anybody's intentional, like I can't be mad at the owner for having a heart attack. In fact, that's why I'm getting such a great deal on the rig. And I can't really blame the dealership. They were just handed the sale, mid-progress, and then they already had staff turnover. That was already planned, right? So I can't really be mad about that. But yesterday, during TechSnap, I get a phone call, which I decided to answer during the show, which I don't usually do, but it was a number I thought might have been the RV folks, and I really wanted to know what the status was. So I answered the phone, and they're like, well, where the hell are you? They didn't say hell, but basically that was the tone, like, where are you? We've been waiting for you. You were supposed to be here. And it's like, you guys are the ones that have been messing this whole thing up. And so it's not really it's just this whole, like, you do all your things right. You line up all the ducks. You make sure you double down on all the details. You get everything all lined up. And then there's just some sort of dysfunction, and your plans fall through. And it's
it's pretty annoying. I mean, it's So did you ever get the rig or not?
No, supposed to get it after the show today. Supposed to drive up there, but because the way their schedule works out, because of the upcoming holiday, I'm just going to sit up there in the waiting room with my laptop and work for 2 hours, I guess, while they work on my rig. I don't know what it's super frustrating. It's not what I wanted, but once it's like the moving thing. It's like once it's over, it's all going to be worth the hassle, but in the meantime, it's very stressful. So, yeah, it's Murphy's Law, basically. Yeah. So Mike is on the phone this week, so Mr. Killis is just joining us, and it might sound bad, but it's the best we got, and I'm just glad he could be here. So let's start with, I wanted to cover something that's come into the show a couple of times, and there was a story that was just posted about it. It's up on The Guardian, and it's about a Guardian tester who went from a software tester to a developer, and he goes through about how he kind of set his goals and worked with his management to sort of pay his way to go to some conventions and make in-person connections. He says, when doing self-study sometimes, the learning curve can feel like climbing a mountain, obscured by fog, making it hard to measure your progress. A great anecdote for this is face-to-face events. Dojos are an open-style meetup where you can partner with others on a problem. It's an opportunity to learn from people with more expertise, and you might just find yourself sharing some of your own knowledge, which is a great way to build confidence as well as gauge your own level. And I really like this because, take Alan from TechSnap. When we started the TechSnap program, I don't think Alan was really beyond PHP and Bash. I don't think he was in maybe some Perl. He wasn't really writing much any kind of script or code. And now, fast forward a couple of years later, after he's been going to these FreeBSD events consecutively back to back and sitting down, he started by writing some Bash script for the FreeBSD installer that he then was at an event with a FreeBSD installer developer. And he took Alan's Bash code and he rewrote it in what I forget what the installer's written in and showed Alan how he did that right there in person. And that sort of started the ball. And now Alan's contributing patches and now he's in as a FreeBSD developer. And he wasn't necessarily a developer before he really started going to these conferences and events. I mean, he had a very good understanding and he understood all of the principles and essentials. But, he sort of learned by mentorship, which it's an incredible opportunity, and it's sort of the unsung value about going to some of these events in person. I don't ever take advantage of it that way, but I see a lot of people doing it, and it's such a good way when you sort of live in a bubble. You know what I mean, Mike? Because like sometimes you can just get trapped behind your screen and you don't get that human interaction.
Yeah, I never did get out, but I really should. There's always a whole slew of local events. I mean, if you live near any big city, there's a ton. Yes.
Yeah. And meetup.com always has a whole bunch. There's more going on than you could really ever really appreciate until you go to Meetup. And then you learn that there's a whole bunch of people at a different level. And one of the things that's so interesting about starting out and learning something is, and I've looked at this a couple of times in my own life, is I think sometimes once I've become quote unquote an expert or really well experienced in that particular area, I look back and go, boy, if I knew absolutely everything I knew now, I never would have started it. I never, ever would have started it because I had no idea it was that much work. That's how I feel very, 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 very much so about video production. If that one time when we're sitting there doing the Linux Action Show and I go, gosh, there's this service called Ustream. I got this webcam here, and I think if I'm kind of clever, I can figure out how to switch these cameras and send that off to a stream. Why don't I just do that? And that's what started the process of video production for me. And if I could have gone fast forward to 2015 and said, this is what the state of video, this is what you will know then, and then this is what you won't know. And if I would have looked at that and said, no, I'm never doing that. That's way too much work. That's way too much work. There's some things like that you don't really fully know how much you don't know. And so once you really start to get into it, you go, okay, this is a lot. I'm really getting into this. I'm really passionate about this, but how much more do I have to learn before I can really be an expert on this? You go meet these people, and it is a very good way to gauge where your skill set is at, because you're going to meet people totally at the beginning, and you're going to meet people that are, the absolute experts in their field. And so you can kind of find where you fit in that range. A little bit harder to do, I think, online. I think online, everybody just kind of boasts whatever they want to boast. You can't really get a good sense. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think groups are great also because it may not even be about people who are worse or better, just different. You may have never encountered a certain database or a certain weird memory issue. It's hugely beneficial. Having said that, I never get out. Always behind. I'm always behind the eight ball.
Yeah. No, but that is a good point too, though. It's getting exposure to other ideas and solutions that you don't normally get to see. You know what? It's actually a good spot. I mean, this is another approach, is double down on your education. Somebody like our first sponsor, Linux Academy, you can go to linuxacademy.com/coders to get the Coder Radio discount. Go check out Linux Academy. It could be a really great opportunity for you to bring your skill sets up on really anything in the Linux sphere, pretty much anything open source, anything that might fit in that DevOps category as well, or any of the Amazon Web Services, or say like OpenStack, things like that. Linux Academy, go check out Linux Academy right now. They have a really sweet platform to help you learn all of this stuff. 7+ distributions that you get to choose from, and then they'll automatically adjust your courseware. They have comprehensive videos and study guides that you can take with you in audio that you can listen to. They have instructor help available. They have a very active community stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members, and they have always updated content, always rolling out new stuff, always making sure they have some of the best things out there, because they don't just cover Linux and open source and Apache and PHP and Perl and Python and Ruby and all that stuff as like, a thing that they have on their site along with After Effects and Final Cut and Adobe's products. No. This is what they do. This is what they are passionate about. This is their main drive, is to get into this stuff. And they paired up with educators and developers to create the Linux Academy platform, and now they're growing. Now they're growing, and they want to go to the Jupiter Broadcasting audience. They want to see if maybe you'd like to join the team. They're hiring, and they're looking for some great new content creators who want to join a high-quality, fast-paced team. The opportunities include long-term contracts, part-time, and potentially full-time for the right candidate. They have opportunities they're looking for to fill with DevOps professionals and developers. They're looking for Linux, C, and C++ development, Bash, Perl, Python, instructors who are seeking to share their knowledge and have a passion to teach others. You'd be perfect for Linux Academy. They're also looking for big data and machine learning developers who would love to share their knowledge with a passionate community inside the Linux Academy. Lots of JB members in there. And if maybe video creation isn't your thing, they're also looking for certified professionals to help increase their practice exam database, which is always nice. And Linux Academy will be paying 4 exam questions per question, depending on the quality, depth, and accuracy of the question, $1 to $25. It's really cool. So here's, if you want more information, if you think there's a range, something here that might work for you, this is a great opportunity for somebody in our audience to go work for a really cool company that we've been talking about for a while. Email Linux Academy, career@linuxacademy.com, career@linuxacademy.com. You can go get a job over there. And maybe it's a part-time gig, maybe it's a contract gig, maybe it's full-time. If you've got an expertise, why not share it? And this is a great opportunity to go learn a little more. Now, if you can't always go do the in-person thing, one of the great things about Linux Academy is they do have that community. And they have live video sessions where you can interact with people and the rest of the people in the community show up. They have the forums that are stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members. It is a really good system. And then when you're ready to learn, you've got the scenario-based labs, those nuggets that I think are really great, and all of the current technologies. Go to linuxacademy.com/coders to get the Coder Radio discount. And if you're maybe interested in getting a gig, which, I would love to work for Linux Academy, go over there and email them, career@linuxacademy.com, career@linuxacademy.com. And a big thanks to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. Mike, our hoopla this week defines the hoopla category. So we have like a segment in the show called Hoopla of just things that are going on in the developer week, in the world of developers this week, that are worth discussing, maybe have a few people upset. I wonder, Mike, because I know you've been moving, if you heard about Jetbrains losing their mind, or at least a whole bunch of customers in just a few hours. Yesterday's big news, this was Thursday of this week. At least big news for many developers, JetBrains, maker of the popular tools like IntelliJ, ReSharper, they are moving to a full-fledged subscription model for their products. Previously, JetBrains products got you a perpetual license and a year of upgrades when you bought it. And now, that's going away. Starting November 2nd, they're doing a subscription service. And it's a doozy. It's called the JetBrains Toolbox. And they say it makes it easier to access your tools, according to JetBrains' company blog. In fact, here's how they justify it. They say, as of November 2nd, 2015, we'll introduce the JetBrains Toolbox, a collection of popular desktop tools, IDEs, utilities, and extensions available on a monthly or yearly subscription basis. With JetBrains Toolbox, you can pick and choose one or more tools that best suit your current needs, or go for the all-products plan that comes with a special savings. You decide what you put in your toolbox and for how long. Now, here's the nitty-gritty, Mike. Guess what? And you're not going to be too surprised by this. The top comment on Reddit points out that his indie IntelliJ purchase was only $100 a year. And now, with this change, it's gone up to $120 a year. So basically, for indie devs, the price is going up. Unless you're a student, price is going up. $19.90 a month is what all-in costs you. If you want to get all of the stuff in the toolbox, $19.90 a month or $200 a year. That's the current discount promo. After a while, it's going to go up to they say it's going to go up to $24.99 a month and $250 a year. You want just IntelliJ? It's $11.90 a month.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about taking a long-established tool that people are dependent on to create their living and transitioning it over to a subscription model? We've watched Adobe do this with Photoshop. You could argue that Photoshop is I think you unquestionably could argue it is a critical work tool for many graphic artists. And now the Creative Cloud is out. And essentially, if you don't want to pay for Creative Cloud, then you're stuck with, what was it, Adobe CS4 or whatever was the last non-creative version. But that you don't really have that option with IntelliJ. You can't just hang out with IntelliJ for 4 years or whatever. You're going to miss out on the new features required to do your job.
Yeah, this is not a great idea to me.
No, this seems like it's really screwing people, doesn't it?
Well, it's funny because, I could see that people would be reluctant to update IntelliJ or RubyMine or any of their other tools, but, I'm not sure that this is the right path, although it's working for Adobe, right? I mean, Adobe's raking in cash.
Yeah, but I feel like Adobe has a little more of an exclusive lock. I mean, you're going to have definitely people that consider themselves locked into IntelliJ, but like, there's nobody that makes another Photoshop.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking about IntelliJ's tools right now, or Jetbrains' tools. You have IntelliJ, which is a pretty common Java IDE. But of course, anyone using Android is probably using Android Studio at this point. You have RubyMine, which I think is fairly popular, but probably not anywhere near as popular as IntelliJ. I don't see a lot of usage for the sake of that. I can't imagine someone needing to use all of their tools, right?
Yeah. It's almost, you know what, Mike? It's almost like it's a way of like taking the more popular products and forcing them to pull up the less popular products. So instead of admitting that these products aren't good enough and not selling well, you bundle them in, and then when you look at the sheets, you can say, well, they're generating this kind of revenue, instead of actually cleaning up house internally. It's kind of what it feels like to me.
Well, would you suggest that they cut less popular products?
I would suggest that instead of trying to generate revenue off those less popular products, and maybe it's not as dramatic as I'm making it sound, but sell them individually. Just sell them individually. It feels like
right. They came out with their Apple, their Objective-C IDE, and that didn't, I tried it out.
Yeah, it sucks.
I don't know really anyone using it, right?
Yeah. I
wouldn't say it sucks. It's just it could have been good the way Apple does things. There was no way they were going to get it.
Yeah,
they didn't really keep
they just did it on the. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because they don't get the integration that Apple products get when Apple makes it themselves. I understand IntelliJ is in a tough spot because the most popular platforms have their own tools, and they just continue to encourage you to use those. I don't know. Maybe the audience has a different opinion on this. I'm not super invested. I obviously am not an IntelliJ user. It doesn't affect me directly, but I do really hate the rug getting changed out from underneath me. I remember, this happened.
I'm using Android Studio right now as we speak. Mm-hmm. I used to be an IntelliJ user, so in a weird way, by making Android Studio, they basically removed the customer, which is interesting. I wonder how many people did that. How many people actually bought IntelliJ Pro and then downgraded to Android Studio.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they go subscription, because they help you just keep the subscription going.
Well, it's weird. It's like Android Studio is IntelliJ Community Edition, but there's a lot of other people back-end development, a lot of integrations you don't get. Mm-hmm. But, I hate these little middling charges, these little like $11, $20 accounting charges. Because then at the end of the year, it's like, I've got to go through all this stuff, and
Yeah, there's so many little subscriptions you have to have now.
Right. I would almost rather purchase, a $100 license, $200 license, whatever it used to be.
Yes, I agree. I agree. In fact, Angela she manages all the finances, and she's always constantly saying, okay, we need to go through and make sure we're not accumulating subscriptions that we're not paying for, because so many services now, backup services, CDN distributions, everything is, even now software is becoming subscription based, and so we have all these little subscriptions that we're constantly managing to make sure we're not paying for something that we don't need to be subscribed to, and it's exhausting. It's annoying. And it doesn't even feel like a professional grade tool when I pay monthly for it for some reason. It feels like I'm getting a watered down version for some reason.
I like the option of being able to subscribe, because certainly for like a lot of individuals or college kids or even startups, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because you don't have a ton of cash.
Yeah, they've got some student discounts and stuff. I mean, they always offer that, but it's still for the general average person. It raises the bar a little bit, so you can't play with it as easily.
So what happens if you don't pay your subscription? Is it like Photoshop cuts you off?
You know what? I don't actually know. I don't actually know what happens if you don't pay. Does it stop? It probably doesn't open this.
Right. They used to have a subscription program where you paid a subscription, and if you didn't pay it, they just froze you on whatever version you last got. I wonder if now it's like Adobe where you don't pay it and you simply can't log in.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm assuming it has to authenticate now.
Which is good, as it seems JetBrains is actively listening to this feedback. So I got to give them credit for that. In fact, they're reaching out. They're reaching out to people. So we'll see. I mean, JetBrains sort of has a good rep, and so hopefully they're going to manage this correctly.
Yeah, I really don't think it's such a horrible thing if they give you the option to just buy the license like you used to.
That would be nice. Just let me just buy a license. Right. Yeah.
Because I had an app, and maybe I'm promoting, I hate upgrading my IDE. Everything breaks, and it's a disaster every time.
Yeah. Rikai says in the chat room, this is going to force him back to Eclipse. And you know what I hate, what I really, really hate, and it's because I only use Photoshop like every now and then. I sit down at the computer just to use Photoshop, and I launch Photoshop, and I've got a few minutes, and it says, oh, hey, I need you to log into Creative Cloud. Well, my Creative Cloud password is some LastPass generated monstrosity. So then that means what it really is saying is, hey, I need you to stop everything you're doing, go launch your web browser, go log into LastPass, go get your cell phone so you can do the authentication two-factor key for your LastPass database, go into LastPass, find the Creative Cloud, copy the password, bring it back over to this application, paste the password in the login box, then hit login so you can open up that one Photoshop file so you can change it from episode 154 to episode 155 and hit save. And that's so annoying. I would much rather just buy Photoshop for $300 or whatever the hell they want to charge me and then never, ever, ever log in again. Because that 40 seconds, that is 40 seconds that I spend passionately hating Adobe every time I do it. Every time I launch their project. Because I don't use it every day, I'm not constantly refreshing my Creative Cloud credentials, so it must just be expiring, or if it opens up on another computer, it expires. It's extremely annoying. And by the way, because my philosophy is if we're going to use proprietary software in production, that we must pay for it. We have to feel the cost of using proprietary software in all its aspects, so we legally buy all proprietary software here at the network. And that means I'm paying something ridiculous, like almost $750 or $780 a year, so I can run Photoshop on like 2 computers and After Effects and something else. It is ridiculous, and I resent Adobe for it. Maybe they're making a lot of money, but it honestly, every time I get that login box, that 40 seconds I spend hating Adobe is also, there's a secondary process in my mind going, dude, just go get CS4, just add localhost, just go localhost all their activation servers and just be done with this. You know how to pirate this software, and you could pirate, like if I took all those 40 seconds and added them all up and spent 1 hour pirating Photoshop and getting all the studio computers, I'd be done. And you know what? Part of me would feel real damn good every time I opened it that I stole it from them because they weren't forcing me to log in. But I'm not doing that because it's illegal. But that's how I feel about it. So I don't know how these developers that use these JetBrains tools are going to feel about it, but if they get prompted with a login screen from time to time when they're in the middle of a project, they're trying to get a report, they're trying to check something for a boss, something like that, and you get in the face with a login screen and you're using proper password hygiene, that's a major, major pain in the butt. So I hope they think of those things too, because that would drive me crazy.
I mean, the other thing is there are other options, right? NetBeans exists.
Clips.
IntelliJ Community exists.
Depending on what you're doing, Android Studio might just be fine.
Yeah, Android Studios. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And for some people, it might even be a better system. I acknowledge that. For some people, it could be better too. So there's that. And if JetBrains handles some of the feedback, I'll keep an eye out on this story and we'll see where it goes. I don't know if we're going to have any updates by Monday. I wonder if you're going to have furniture. You probably won't have furniture by Monday, will you?
Probably not.
Well, maybe we'll do another Friday episode or something just to see.
Yeah, You should probably do that.
Yeah. Okay, well then let me take a minute and I'll thank Digitalocean right here. This is your place to go to get Linux infrastructure on demand. They actually have free BSD as well. Digitalocean is a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way for you to spin up a cloud server. You're going to get started in less than 55 seconds. And the pricing plans are nuts. But get this, if you use our promo code CODERDIGITAL, you're going to get a $10 credit anyways. But just wrap your head around this. For $5 a month, not a day, a month. $5 a month, you get 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of transfer for $5. And if you use our promo code CODERDIGITAL, you get a $10 credit. You can try it out 2 months for free. And DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, London, and a gorgeous brand new one in Germany. And their interface to manage all of this, it's like they had a DeLorean. They took Biff, they kicked him out of the car, and they said, "Stop going back and gaming the system, Biff." Future Donald Trump. And they got in the car themselves. They went into the future. They saw flying cars. They saw how to build good interfaces, and they brought it back to our time. That's why that's the only thing I can figure. That's the only thing I can figure why the DigitalOcean interface is so damn good. They're time travelers. It's the only way. And you can check it out too for 2 months for free when you use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. And then they're like, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take an API. That seems like something they do now. And so they wrote this great API to make you think that they're from the present. That way you're not onto their time traveling capabilities, because they just wrote this incredible API. And you're like, oh, well, everybody's doing an API. But they wrote like the best API. Like, okay, well, they're just really good at what they do. When you combine the evidence, you know they're time travelers. Try it out. See if I'm wrong. Coder Digital, 2 months for free. I bet you'll figure it out. They got CentOS, they got Ubuntu, they got Debian, CoreOS, FreeBizzle. You can install all those different things and then one click deploy applications onto them like a boss. Plus, you can destroy your machine when you need to, transfer it, move it around the world, back it up. DigitalOcean has it all, and you use that promo code CoderDigital, you get that $10 credit. And don't forget to check out their tutorials too. Really good tutorials. You get a lot more out of your machine. DigitalOcean.com, use the promo code CoderDigital. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Coder Radio program and for traveling through time to make the best interface possible. All right, Mike. So this, I believe, this judge must be a Coder Radio listener. I think we got a Coder Radio listener in the courts. So Apple, Google, and other tech giants, oh, I love it when we call them tech giants, will pay $415 million in a poaching scandal settlement. We talked a little bit about this. So the settlement in March, U.S. District Judge Lucy Koh ruled on Wednesday that some of tech's biggest companies will pay $450 million to settle this long-running employee poaching lawsuit that I think even goes back to when Steve Jobs, I think this is the one we talked about where there's emails from Steve Jobs. Apple, Google, Adobe, and Intel, and other major companies were hit with this class action lawsuit for allegedly agreeing not to poach employees from each other. Like, off the record, oh yeah, we won't hire from you, you don't hire from us. In an action, the plaintiffs in the case argued kept wages artificially low. Last year, Judge Koh rejected the $324 million settlement, saying, not enough money. The case centered on emails between Steve Jobs in a 2006 email to Eric Schmidt and said that Google was relentlessly recruiting from Apple's iPod group. Asking if that's true, Schmidt would put a stop to it. And that line of exchange led to a $450 million settlement with these employees. Developers and stuff. Google was trying to get folks out of the iPod team to come join the Android development team. And then Steve Jobs asked him to put a stop to it. Eric Schmidt said he would. And because those two powerful men had that simple exchange in email, there's now this settlement. But really, $415 million split between Apple, Google, Adobe, and Intel, not really a huge deal.
Yeah, I imagine the bad PR was a little more of a concern.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree. What was your? I can't remember, Mike. What was your feeling? What if you and another development shop had an agreement not to hire from each other? Does that seem like such a bad thing?
Well, we don't. That happens all the time.
That's so bad?
Because is it bad? Because it's bad, but it happens all the time, right?
Yes, I suppose so. I mean, I was trying to think if I've had non-compete agreements I've had to sign, which essentially did the same thing, reverse, I couldn't go work for anybody else in that particular industry in that area. So it essentially accomplished the same task.
Yeah. I mean, the standard non-compete that I'm usually familiar with is if you work for a dev shop, you may not go work for their clients, right?
Exactly.
And if you decided to go on your own, you can't use any work you did for them as, materials that you did.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was in IT contracting... When I was an IT contractor, it was I couldn't go off and start my own IT contracting business and take any clients with me, and I couldn't go and work for like their nearest competitors in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the nearest competitor thing will hold up, but you can't take if you decide to do Chris LLC.
Yeah.
Chris LLC starts with nothing. Right?
Yeah.
You can't say, I worked on this project at Buccaneer. You can't do that.
Right.
Which is all pretty standard, but the whole "you will not hire my employees" thing is obviously illegal. This is the one case where I think I was the little guy.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I was mocking the settlement, but I'm glad Judge Koh went back and said, no, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more. These people couldn't get jobs. You suppressed their wages for a while. So I'm glad that she went back and upped it, even if it was only a little bit. Mike, we have a couple of good pieces of feedback to get to, but since the audio is not so good this week, should we save them for next Friday if we want to do a Friday edition?
Let's save them for Friday.
Okay, so I'll point to one I don't think we'll read next week, but since it's in the subreddit, anybody can go comment. Essentially, BMB 330 was asking for a really good monitor specifically for development. And at first I was like, a monitor for development? Why do you need a monitor for development? And then I thought, well, maybe there is. It's not that ridiculous, actually, when I started thinking about it, because there's a lot of really good monitors for photo editing, monitors that are really good specifically to read text. And one of the ones what is this? It's an LG, and I don't know the name, but it's like a 21 by 1 or whatever. Like, it's a super ultra-wide monitor, and it might make for a really great developer monitor. So anyways, BMB asked the question in our subreddit. We'll have it linked in the show notes for a new monitor. He's also asking around Linux support and things like that, if anybody has any. It looks like Exony put him in there for a different budget one. A 28-inch color accuracy isn't super important. If it's not super important, then he's got a 28-inch that looks really nice. 2160p panels for $400. So if you guys have any advice for really great, obvious monitors that work well for developers, maybe there's a category in there that we don't know about, or I don't know about. So I'd like that feedback, and then we'll read the other feedback that we have in the next week's show. So we'll just put that one out there right now. People can go comment on that. 21 by 9, Rikai says, is the aspect ratio of our monitor. 21 by 9. We have it here in the studio, and what's nice is we have it on our Wirecast broadcast rig, and I have 6 windows open across the screen right now, and I can see the real time playback and the chat room and all of that across this one really 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 wide monitor, and so it makes for some super cool viewing and some nice web browsing. So check that out. Yeah, the BenQs are also good. The EW244L. I love that resolution. So there you go. That is that'll be the Friday edition of the Coda Radio. Mike, I hope everything works. Will you if you get furniture or something, you got to tweet and let us know, because this is you're like Steve Jobs over there living minimal. You just need you need a picture of you on a wood floor with your legs in a crisscross applesauce style, drinking a cup of tea. And you're good to go.
That's exactly what I was doing. A cup of tea and a MacBook. I mean, how much more obscure would I get?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, congratulations on the move. I'm sorry it didn't go super smooth, but you know what, Mike? One day, you might just see me show up with a trailer in your front yard, having come through Texas. All right, so join us next week. I think we are going to do the show on Friday. You can go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get the live time for that. jblive.tv is where we do it live. And don't forget, you can go to coderadio.reddit.com to submit content or feedback, or email us. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. Choose Coda Radio from the drop-down and send in your feedback to the show. We'll read it on a future edition of the Coda Radio program. And, of course, put your good vibes out there so that way, Mike's desk, microphone, stand, chairs, things like that show up. That'd be really nice. All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in this week's episode of Coda Radio. See you right back here next week.